In this one, we are simply discussing profit and gain of business and profession. We are casually reading from the अतुल सर नोट्स. सो सबसे पहले आ जाता है हमारा चार्जिंग सेक्शन जो कि सेक्शन 28 है. फॉलोइंग इनकम आर टैक्सेबल है. अंडर दिस हैड प्रॉफिट एंड गेन ऑफ एनी बिजनेस प्रोफेशन विच इज़ कैरिड बाय एसएससी ड्यूरिंग द प्रीवियस ईयर. असिस्टेंट्स ग्रांट्स, तो हम क्या बोलते हैं, फॉलोइंग इनकम आर टैक्सेबल होती है अंडर दिस हैड profit or gain of any business and profession which is carried by an assessee during the previous year. Assistant grant and subsidy which is received from central state government relating to business and profession. Export incentives such as cash assistance, duty drawback, import entitlement, etc. Value of any gift, benefit and perquisite which is arising from business and profession whether in cash or in kind. Amount received for not carrying out any activity relating to business profession, not sharing intangible asset, non-compete fee. Amount received under key man insurance policy. FMV of a stock on a conversion of into stock into capital asset. Interest, salary, bonus, commission or any remuneration received by partner from firm LLP up to deduction allowed to firm LLP. Then speculative business. Part of business consists of purchase, sale of shares in a commodity other than by actual delivery. Profit and loss of speculative business is to be calculated separately. Following are not a speculative transaction: hedging contract, forward contract, trading in derivative commodity derivatives. Income of Pgbp computed as per section 30 to 43D, section 29. Calculation of Pgbp income. Profit and loss as per P&L account. Then we need to add depreciation debited to P&L account. Expenses debited to P&L account but not allowed as deduction under this head disallowed. Income not credited to P&L account but taxable under this head. Less depreciation as per income tax. Expense not debited to P&L account but allowed as deduction under this head. Income credited to P&L account but not taxable under this head. Capital gain, income from other source, agriculture income. Income from business and profession. Rent, rate, repairs and insurance for building use in business profession, section 30. Expenses deduction क्या, rent allowed. Rates, municipal taxes allowed. Repairs, revenue nature allow. Capital nature not allow, add to cost of building. Insurance allow. Repair and insurance of plant and machinery, furniture, section 31. Expenses and deduction. Repairs, revenue nature allow. Capital nature not allow, added to cost of plant and machinery, furniture. Insurance allow. Depreciation as per income tax sector, section 32. Condition to claim depreciation. Asset must be used in business and profession, active or passive. Assets must be owner of such asset wholly or partly. Depreciation allow only when asset is put to use. However, in case of standby equipment, fire extinguisher, machinery spares, depreciation allow even if they are kept ready for use. In case of lease asset, lessor is entitled for depreciation. No depreciation on goodwill and land. It is mandatory to claim depreciation. Depreciable asset may be tangible and intangible. Tangible में building, furniture, plant and machinery, class 1, class 2, class 3. Intangible में know-how, patent, copyright, trademark, license, franchise or any other business or commercial right or similar nature except goodwill. Depreciation rates will be residential building पे कितना होता है 5%, commercial building पे 10%, temporary structure पे 40%, all furnitures पे 10%. Plant and machinery में aeroplane, pollution control equipment, medical equipment, windmill, energy saving device, books and annual publication, computer including computer software and accessory, it is 40%. Ships per 20%. Motor car, taxi, buses used in business of running on hire 30%. Other motor car, oil wells, office equipment, appliances and mobile phones, other plant and machinery 15%. If motor car purchase and put to use between 23/8/19 to 23/20, अगर देखो बिटवीन कोविड में है तो हायर वाले पे 45% है, टैक्सीज बसेस एंड अदर मोटर कार पे 30% है. Intangible asset, all intangible asset 25%. Block of asset, same class of asset and same rate of depreciation. Depreciation shall be allowed on WDV of a block of asset at a prescribed percentage. Calculation of WDV of a block and depreciation. Opening WDV of block as on first day of previous year. Actual cost of asset purchased during the previous year. Put to use for 180 days or more. Put to use for less than 180 days. Purchased but not put to use during the previous year. Minus amount received on asset sale, destroyed, demolished, discarded during the previous year. WDV of block for depreciation. Deduct करना depreciation closing WDV on the last day of previous year. Depreciation on WDV of block on cost of asset purchased but not put to use during the previous year, no depreciation. On cost of asset put to use for less than 180 days, put to use after 3rd October, तो half rate of depreciation लगा देना. Half rate applies होती है only when purchase and put to use in the same years. परचेज और पुट टू यूज़ सेम ईयर है तभी हाफ रेट. अगर परचेज 24-25 में पुट टू यूज़ नेक्स्ट ईयर में तो फिर उस रेट में तो फुल रेट लग जाएगा. बैलेंस WDV फुल रेट ऑफ डेप्रिसिएशन. अब देखो जैसे सपोज ओपनिंग WDV ऑफ प्लांट एंड मशीनरी है 1/4/25 को 5 लाख. फिर ओपनिंग WDV ऑफ कंप्यूटर है विच इज़ 40%. परचेज एंड पुट टू यूज़ एज ऑन दिस. परचेज या कंप्यूट वाली लोगे, बस डेप्रिसिएशन की रेट बतानी चाहिए कि प्लांट एंड मशीनरी पे 15 है, कंप्यूटर पे 40 है. परचेज एंड पुट टू यूज सेम ईयर में है या नहीं. परचेज कंप्यूटर पे कितना है 40 है, ऐसे करके हो जाएगा. देन ओपनिंग WDV एक्चुअल परचेज. देखो अगर हम देखना भी चाहे तो देख सकते हैं. ओपनिंग WDV कितना है स्टार्टिंग में 5 लाख, ठीक है. और फिर हमारा तो प्लांट एंड मशीनरी का अलग ब्लॉक बन जाएगा और कंप्यूटर का परचेज एंड पुट टू यूज़ कार भी है. परचेज कंप्यूटर, परचेज एंड पुट टू यूज़ हाफ फुल देख लेना क्योंकि सेल करेगा वन प्लांट एंड मशीनरी भी बेच रहा है. कैपिटल गेन लॉस ऑन डेप्रिशिएबल एसेट. इफ WDV ऑफ ब्लॉक फॉर डेप्रिसिएशन इज नेगेटिव तो वो क्या होता है शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन. इफ ऑल एसेट ऑफ ब्लॉक अगर सारे बेच दिए जाए तो WDV ऑफ ब्लॉक फॉर डेप्रिसिएशन इज पॉजिटिव शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल लॉस. शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल लॉस डेड लॉस. इफ WDV ऑफ ब्लॉक ऑफ डेप्रिसिएशन इज नेगेटिव शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन. डेप्रिसिएशन वाला पार्ट को मैं additional depreciation. Assessee engage in business of manufacture production of any article, factory, industry or generation, transmission, distribution of power. Purchase new plant and machinery during the previous year. Additional depreciation क्या होगा 20% of actual put to use up to 3rd October allowed और after 3rd October तो फिर half rate हो जाएगा. Balance 10%. Business of printing and publishing also eligible. No additional depreciation in following plant and machinery. Second hand plant and machinery. प्लांट एंड मशीनरी इंस्टॉल इन ऑफिस प्रेमाइस पे लगा दी या रेजिडेंशियल अकोमोडेशन तो भी एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन नहीं मिलता है. ऑफिस अप्लायंस इक्विपमेंट शिफ्ट एयरक्राफ्ट रोड ट्रांसपोर्ट व्हीकल ट्रक यूज इन फैक्ट्रीज एलिजिबल. एनी प्लांट एंड मशीनरी ऑन विच 100% डिडक्शन इज अलाउड अंडर द अदर सेक्शन. A limited engage in manufacturing business plant and machinery. Opening WDV purchase new plant and machinery put to use this. Normal depreciation actual cost of asset purchase price installation transportation trial run and other expenses up to put to use. Taxes and duties if ITC not available. Interest on a loan taken for purchase of asset. Subsidy government grant received for purchase of asset. Actual cost of asset purchase if payment expenditure for asset is to a single person in a single day exceed 10,000 by cash bearer check cross check, then such a payment expenditure shall not form part of actual cost of asset. Ignore such amount. Asset used in scientific research nil. Section 35 AD asset. Stock converted into capital asset and used in business and profession. FMV on date of conversion. Asset acquired by gift and will. WDV of previous owner. Reacquisition of asset sold. Reacquisition price and WDV at the time of sale. Lower of. Asset used for personal purpose brought into business. Building original cost minus depreciation up to yet other asset original cost. Asset transfer between holding and 100% subsidiary company. WDV of transferor. Asset transferred by amalgamating company to amalgamated company. WDV of amalgamating company. Then asset transferred by demerged company to resulting company. WDV of demerged company of asset transfer. Other point relating to depreciation: asset used for partly business and partly personal purpose. Depreciation allowed only for business use. Assessee uses the car 15% for both business and personal purpose in ratio of 60-40 respective WDV of car. टोटल डेप्रिसिएशन अलाउ कितना होगा? 60% बिजनेस यूज, 40%। तो देखो आपको सिर्फ बिजनेस यूज़ का ही मिलेगा। असेट परचेज इन फॉरेन करेंसी इन क्रेडिट सेक्शन 43A, प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस ड्यू टू फॉरेन एक्सचेंज फ्लक्चुएशन एट द टाइम ऑफ पेमेंट शैल बी एडजस्टेड फ्रॉम कॉस्ट ऑफ असेट। प्रॉफिट है या लॉस है? रिड्यूस फ्रॉम कॉस्ट ऑफ असेट। लॉस है एडेड टू कॉस्ट ऑफ असेट। ऑल्सो इंक्लूड प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस ऑन हैजिंग कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एंटर फॉर सच असेट। डेप्रिसिएशन इन केस ऑफ amalgamation, demerger, conversion, succession in case of amalgamation, demerger of company, conversion of company into LLP, succession of firm, proprietorship formed by company. Depreciation is calculated normally for predecessor. After that, depreciation shall be distributed between predecessor and successor in a ratio of number of days for which asset were used by them. साय लिमिटेड तो देखो इसमें क्या है, सिंपली प्रपोर्शन कर देना, कितना टाइम प्री पोस्ट में, इस तरीके से हो जाएगा, ईजी है। Depreciation for undertaking engaged in generation of power. WDV of SLM for each asset separately, no additional depreciation. In case of sale of asset, if WDV is more than sale price, अगर WDV ज़्यादा है then the sale price से भी ज़्यादा आ रहा है तो टर्मिनल डेप्रिसिएशन डिडक्शन अलाउ हो जाएगी। मतलब जितने में बेचा उससे भी ज़्यादा डेप्रिसिएशन आ रहा है तो टर्मिनल डेप्रिसिएशन। और अगर हमारा सेल प्राइस ज़्यादा है रहा है, WDV से प्रॉफिट है, बैलेंसिंग चार्ज एक्सेबल अंडर PGBP। Unabsorbed depreciation section 32, profit before charging depreciation as per income tax act minus depreciation as per income tax act, and you will get unabsorbed depreciation. It can be set off from any head of income except salary and can be carried forward indefinitely. Deduction for tea, coffee, rubber business section 33AB, eligible assessee all assessing engaged in business of growing and manufacturing tea, coffee, rubber in India. Deposit deduction allowed if some amount is deposited in NABARD up to due date of ROI or 6 months from end of previous year earlier. Actual amount deposited in 40% of profits from such a business as per IT Act lower off. Utilization of deposited amount should be utilized for purposes specified at tea, coffee, rubber, board. Misutilization: if amount utilized for following purpose, then amount utilized shall be taxable under PGP for plant and machinery used in business premises or residential accommodation. For office appliances other than computer, for plant and machinery on which 100% deduction is allowed under section other section known utilization. जो भी आपने अमाउंट विड्रॉ किया है shall be utilized in a previous year of a withdrawal, otherwise such unutilized amount is taxable. Sale of asset: when asset purchase is sold, transfer within 8 years from the end of previous year in which it was acquired, then cost of such asset shall be taxable under PGBP in the year of sale. If sale amount exceed the cost of asset, balance taxable as STCC. Misutilization के if amount Misutilization के if amount utilized for following purpose, then amount utilized shall be taxable under PGBP. For plant and machinery used in this, देखिए देन आता है हमारा डिडक्शन फॉर टी, कॉफ़ी, रबर बिजनेस सेक्शन 33AB। एलिजिबल एसएससी कौन होता है? जो भी एसएससी इंगेज इन द बिजनेस ऑफ ग्रोइंग एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग टी, कॉफ़ी, रबर इन इंडिया. डिपॉजिट deduction allow if some amount is deposited in NABARD up to due date of ROI or 6 months from the end of previous year earlier. Deduction: actual amount deposited or 40% of profit from such a business as per income tax act. Lower utilization of deposited amount should be utilized for purposes specified by tea, coffee, rubber board. Misutilization: if amount utilized for following purpose, then amount utilized shall be taxable under PGBP. For plant and machinery used in office premises or residential accommodation, for office appliances other than computer, for plant and machinery on which 100% deduction is allowed under other section, known utilization amount withdrawn shall be utilized in a previous year of a withdrawal, otherwise such unutilized amount is taxable. Sale of asset: when asset purchase is sold, transfer within 8 years from the end of previous year in which it was acquired, then cost of such asset shall be taxable under PGBP in year of sale. If sale amount exceed cost of asset balance taxable as STCG, apportionment of income calculated above shall be further divided into taxable business income and agriculture income as per following ratio. Income from growing and मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इन इंडिया, बिजनेस इनकम इन एग्रीकल्चर. देखो टी के लिए है 40% इज बिजनेस, एग्री कितनी है 60, रबर के लिए 35 इज बिजनेस, 65 इज एग्रीकल्चर इनकम. ग्रोन एंड क्योर दो चीज़ें तो है, 75% एग्री 25% बिजनेस. ग्रोन क्योर राउंडेड रोस्टेड तो 60% एग्री 40% बिजनेस. Calculation of taxable business income net profit as per income tax before section 33AB less deduction under section 33AB lower of amount deposited in NABARD or 40% of profit plus misutilized amount during previous year plus amount withdrawn but not utilized during previous year plus cost of assets sold within 8 years during previous year. Income for apportionment minus agriculture portion taxable Pgbp income minus brought forward business loss if any. Deduction for petroleum and natural gas business section 33AB eligible assessee. All assessee engaged in the business of prospecting, extraction or production of petroleum and natural gas in India. Deduction allowed some amount is deposited in SBI site as restoration account up to end of previous year. Deduction actual amount deposited or 20% of profit from such a business as per Income Tax Act. Lower of utilization of deposited amount should be utilized for purposes specified by Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Misutilization if amount utilized for following purpose, then amount utilization shall be taxable under Pgbp. For plant and machinery used in office premise or residential accommodation, for office appliance other than computer, for plant and machinery on which 100% deduction is allowed under other section, known utilization amount withdrawn shall be utilized in a previous year of withdrawal, otherwise such an unutilized amount is taxable. Sale of asset when asset purchase is sold, transfer within 8 years from the end of previous year in which it was acquired, then cost of such asset shall be taxable under Pgbp in a year of sale. If sale amount exceed of cost of asset balance shall be STCG. Scientific research expenditure section 35 in-house or outside contribution within 3 years before commencement of business. Revenue, material and salary and capital except land के अलावा 100% reduction in commencement year. After commencement of business, revenue, capital except land 100% reduction in year of expense. To India, company engage in R&D 100% to approved association, institution, college 100% for scientific, social and statistical research. For IITs, IIS, National Laboratory 100% for scientific research. Deduction allowed even if approval of institution withdrawn after payment. Unabsorbed capital expenditure on scientific research can be carry forward and set off same as unabsorbed depreciation. If scientific research asset is sold and sale amount of deduction allowed whichever is lower is taxable under Pgbp. Expenses for obtaining telecom spectrum section 35AB, telecom license section 35AB. Any amount actually paid for obtaining telecom spectrum license shall be allowed as a deduction in equal installment during number of years for which the spectrum license is in force. If payment made before commencement of business, deduction allowed from previous year in which business commences till previous year in which spectrum license expires. If payment made after commencement of business, deduction allowed from previous year in which spectrum license fee paid till previous year in which spectrum license expires. Tata Telecom Limited obtained Qatar Telecom license of 12 lakh for 5 years. On 1/4/22, it commences business on 1/4/23. Previous year 23/24 license fee paid is 6 lakh on 1/4/22 and 6 lakh on 1/4/24. Deduction from previous year 23/24 to previous year 6 lakh by 4 will be 1,50,000 in each year, and this will be the same other. Depreciation under section 32 shall not be allowed on telecom spectrum license in case of amalgamation demerger. Remaining deduction shall be allowed to amalgamated resulting companies. Expenditure on specified business section 3580. Eligibility and amount of deduction. Deduction allowed on all capital expenses except land, goodwill, financial instrument. If capital expenditure incurred before commencement of business, 100% deduction in year of commencement. If capital expenditure incurred after commencement of business, 100% deduction in year of expense. Call chain facility, hotel of 2-star or above category. Hospital with at least 100 beds for patient. Housing project. These are what specified business. Housing project under affordable housing scheme. Production of fertilizers in India. Inland container depot. honey production, warehousing facility for storage of sugar, warehousing facility for storage of agriculture produce, cross-country pipeline of natural gas oil, slurry pipeline for transportation of iron ore, semiconductor wafer fabrication manufacturing unit. Developing, maintaining, and updating new infrastructure facility. Business should be new, not to form by splitting up or reconstruction of existing business. Planted machinery should be new except imported. All planted machinery, 20% of total planted machinery can be sold. If payment expenditure for capital asset to a person in a single day exceed 10,000 by cash bearer check cross check, then no deduction allowed. For such a payment expenditure, ignore such amount if deduction under section 35 AD is claimed. Then deduction under section 80 IA, 80 RRB and 80, section 10 AA shall not be allowed from same business. Profit and loss of specified businesses to be calculated separately. Loss from specified businesses set off only from profit of any other business. Specified business and such a loss can be carried forward indefinitely. If specified business capital asset is sold, then amount received will be taxable under PGP. देखो loss from specified business जो है वो सिर्फ स्पेसिफाइड बिजनेस के प्रॉफिट से सेट ऑफ होगा, अदरवाइज कैरी फॉरवर्ड हो जाएगा, बट वो उसके पास देवी शक्ति वो इनडेफिनेटली पीरियड तक हो सकता है. स्पेसिफाइड बिजनेस कैपिटल एसेट इज सोल्ड देन अमाउंट रिसीव विल बी टैक्सेबल अंडर PGBP. If a specified asset converted transferred to non-specified within 8 years, deduction allow cost of asset minus depreciation up to previous year preceding transfer year taxable under PGBP. Actual cost of asset for non-specified business, cost of such asset minus depreciation up to previous year preceding transfer year. Actual cost of asset, deduction of expense incurred on agriculture extension project section 35 CCC. Deduction allowed to all assessee 100% of expenditure except land and building. Deduction of expenses incurred by company on skill development project section 35 CCD. Deduction allow only to company 100% of expenditure except land and building. Preliminary expenses section 35D. Deduction allow only to resident assessee who incurs preliminary expenses at the time of commencement of business, extension of business, setting up of a new unit. Maximum limit of deduction Indian company cost of project and capital employee का 5% हायर और अदर रेजिडेंट के लिए 5% ऑफ कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट. मैक्सिमम ये किस में आता है? प्रिलिमिनरी एक्सपेंसेस में अगर कंपनी है तो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट या कैपिटल एम्प्लॉय, इन दोनों में से जो भी 5% ऑफ हायर ऑफ का 5% और अदर रेजिडेंट एसएससी में 5% of cost of project. Cost of project amount invested in fixed asset of a new business extension, new unit, capital employee share capital except reserve and surplus share premium, debenture, long term borrowings of new business extension, new unit. Deduction amount, actual preliminary expenses or limit. Lower deduction allowed in 5 equal installment in 5 years. In case of amalgamation, demerger, remaining deduction shall be allowed to amalgamate it. Resulting company expenses on amalgamation and demerger 35 DD. Deduction allowed only to Indian company who incurred expenditure on amalgamation and demerger. Deduction allowed in 5 equal installment in 5 years. Expenses incurred under voluntary retirement scheme section 35 DDA. Deduction allowed to all SSC. Deduction allowed in 5 equal installment in 5 years of amount paid. Deduction for previous year 1 by 5 multiply amount paid for VRS. In case of amalgamation, demerger, succession, conversion, remaining deduction shall be allowed to successor other deduction. Stock insurance, insurance premium of stock is allowed as deduction. Health medical insurance premium of employee other than cash is allowed as deduction. Bonus or commission to employees allowed as deduction but subject to section 43B. Interest on a loan for a business purpose. For depreciable asset, interest up to put to use added to cost of asset. Interest after put to use allowed under section 36 subject to section 43B. Other case allowed under section 36 subject to section 43B. Discount on zero coupon bond section 36 amortize over life of zero coupon bond. Employer contribution for benefit of employees. Statutory provident fund, recognized provident fund, approved superannuation fund, approved gratuity fund, any other fund as per law. ASI deduction under section 36 subject to section 43B. Unrecognized provident fund, approved superannuation fund and approved gratuity fund, any other fund, employee welfare fund, no deduction. Employer contribution and pension scheme under section 80 CCD. Actual contribution and 14% of salary, basic salary, DA, lower deduction under section 36. Employer contribution towards PF, ESI, superannuation fund, deduction allowed if amount deposited on and before due date of that fund. If not deposited by employer up to due date of that fund, then amount will be deemed to be income under PGBP. Due date of deposition in PF, ESI, superannuation fund, 15th of next month. Animal used in business other than stock and trade. Deduction allowed in a year in which Animal become permanently useless and died. Deduction amount will be cost of animal minus scrap value bad debt. Actual bad debt or provision for bad debt sales allow, loan not allow, except money lending business not allow, except banks. Bad debt should be written off in the books in the previous year in which deduction is claimed. That should be taken into account for computing income from previous year or earlier years. Recovery of bad debt taxable under Pgbp in the year of recovery amount taxable. Bad debt recovery in excess of not written off. Provision for bad debt of a bank. Indian bank schedule non-commercial, non-schedule cooperative 8.5% of GTI. 10% of aggregate average advance made by rural branches, foreign bank, state financial corporation, state industrial investment corporation, public financial institution, NBFC 5% of GTI. Actual bad debt reduction in case of bank under section 36. Total actual bad debt written off minus provision up to yet as per section 36. Expenses on promotion of family planning of employees. Reduction allow only to companies. Revenue 100% reduction. Capital allow in a 5 equal installment in 5 years. And absorb expenditure on a family planning can be carried forward and set off as unabsorbed depreciation in case of amalgamation. Demerger remaining reduction shall be allowed to amalgamated resulting company security transaction tax. Commodity transaction tax paid STT CTT is allowed as deduction if share unit consolidated as a stock in trade. Purchase of sugarcane expenses incurred by cooperative society engaged in business of manufacture sugar for purchase of sugarcane at a price which is equal to and less than fixed by government is allowed as a deduction. Market to market loss and other expected loss for section 36 allow as a deduction and as per ICDS on a basis of actual settlement. General reduction section 37 any expenditure other than covered section 30 to 36 is allowed as a deduction if following conditions are satisfied. Revenue in nature not capital incurred wholly and exclusive for business profession not to personal and legal prohibited by law. उसके बाद आता है हमारा लाइबिलिटी ऑफ सम एक्सपेंसेस कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी CSR एक्सपेंडिचर अलाउड नहीं है. डिविडेंड एंड DDT अलाउड नहीं है. सीक्रेट कमीशन ड्राइव पेमेंट टू गुंडास अलाउ नहीं है. एक्सपेंडिचर फॉर एडवर्टीजमेंट इन सोवेनियर ब्रोकर पैम्पलेट पब्लिश बाय पॉलिटिकल पार्टी एलिजिबल है फॉर डिडक्शन. 80 GGB में टू कंपनीज में डिडक्शन तो अवेलेबल है बट ये अलाउ नहीं है. कंट्रीब्यूशन टू इलेक्टोरल ट्रस्ट अदर डोनेशन एलिजिबल फॉर डिडक्शन अंडर सेक्शन 18 नोट अलाउ. प्रोविजन फॉर लॉस ऑफ सब्सिडी प्रोविजन फॉर डेफर्ड टैक्स इनकम टैक्स प्रोविजन फॉर डिमिनिशन in value of asset provision for unascended liability not allow. Provision based on fair estimate and reasonable certainty as per ICD is allowed. Provision for gratuity even based on actual valuation only gratuity is allowed not और सिर्फ gratuity allow है. Provision for gratuity allow नहीं है. Share issue expense other than preliminary incurred for IPO FPO right issue not allow. Other cases bonus issue allow. Debenture issue expense including convertible debentures allow. Discount on issue of debenture allow over life of debenture. Regularization compound fee not allow. Expenditure incurred on project not related to existing business and project was abandoned not allow. Payment to consultant for opinion on new business not allow. Expenditure incurred on heart surgery of individual assessee not allow. Commission paid to doctors by diagnostic center for referring patient for diagnosis not allow. Freebies gift provided by pharmaceutical company to doctor not allow. Tax on monetary perquisite of employee paid by employer not allow. देन आता है हमारा एक्सपेंडिचर इनकर्ड प्रीमियम पेड ऑन कीम एंड इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी अलाउ. स्पॉन्सरशिप फी अलाउ. नॉन कम्पीट फी अलाउ. ब्रांच इनोग्रेशन एक्सपेंसेस अलाउ. एक्सपेंसेस ऑन क्लोज हैंग बोर्ड अलाउ. एक्सपेंसेस इनकर्ड फॉर ग्रेंट ऑफ ISO सर्टिफिकेट अलाउ. लॉस ड्यू टू थेफ्ट इफ incidental to business allow. Purchase expense bill omitted to be recorded in books allow. Tax indirect interest penalty of direct and indirect tax. Direct tax indirect tax including cess advance tax TDS not allow and this will be allow. Net of ITC interest including interest on TDS and advance tax not allow and this is allow. ये क्या चल रहा है. अच्छा हमें तो डायरेक्ट टैक्स का पढ़ना है ना. तो डायरेक्ट टैक्स में तो एडवांस टैक्स TDS अलाउ नहीं है. इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स में अलाउ है. इंटरेस्ट इंक्लूडिंग TDS एडवांस टैक्स. देखो इनकम टैक्स में तो ये तीनों अलाउ नहीं. पेनल्टी भी अलाउ नहीं. पेनल्टी तो दोनों में अलाउ नहीं है. इंटरेस्ट IDT में अलाउ है. एडवांस टैक्स IDT allow. Fee for delayed filing of TDS TCS statement under Section 234E allow. Interest on loan taken for payment of income tax, advance tax not allow. Refund of direct indirect tax, income tax refund not taxable. GST refund taxable. Net of amount refunded to customer. Other penalty for infraction, violation, breach of law not allow. Amount incurred to settle proceeding initiated for contravention of law not allow. For breach of contract allow. Amount not deductible under Section 40 known deduction deposition of TDS Section 40A Section 40I. Any amount paid or credited to an R or foreign company on which TDS is deductible but TDS has not deducted during previous year. TDS deducted but not paid to government up to due date of ROI. Then such amount of payment 100% disallow in current previous year allow in a previous year of deposit to government if TDS deducted in subsequent year or TDS deposited after due date of ROI. Section 40A any amount paid or credited to resident on which TDS is deductible but TDS has not been deducted during the previous year or TDS deducted but not paid to government up to due date of ROI. Then such amount of payment 30% disallowed in current previous year allowed in a previous year of deposit to government if TDS deducted in subsequent year or TDS deposited after due date of ROI. Any amount paid credited to pay without deduction of TDS as such a pay punishes ROI. Consider such amount in total income paid. Tax due on such amount, then amount disallowed will be allowed in a year in which pay files his return of income. Loan deduction, deposition of equalization levy, any amount consideration for a specified service paid or credited to NR on which equalization levy is deductible but equalization levy has not deducted during the previous year or deducted but not paid to government up to due date of ROI. Then such amount payment 100% disallow in current previous year allow in previous year of deposit of government if deducted in subsequent year or deposit after due date of ROI. Payment to specified person Section 40A. If a payment of expenditure made to specified person relative then AO can disallow excessive or unreasonable amount of payment in excess of FMV, then excess disallow. Specified person relative assesses specified person individual spouse, brother, sister, or any lineal ascendant descendant of individual HGF, member of HGF and relative of a member firm, partner of a firm and relative of a partner, AOP, BOI, member of AOP, BOI and relative of member company, director of a company and relative of director. For all assessee, all person having substantial interest in a business of assessee, relative of assessee. Substantial interest means 20% and more voting power. Profit shares, cash payment, Section 40A3. If aggregate payment for expenditure to a single person in a day exceed 10,000 by cash bearer check, cross check, then such a payment is 100% disallowed. In payment made to transporter, then limit is 35,000. If expenditure claim as a deduction in earlier year on a due basis, and if such expenditure is subsequently paid in cash bearer check, cross check in excess of 10,000 in a day, then deduction allowed earlier will be taxable under Pgbp. Non-applicability if payment made by account, pay, check, DD, ECS or any other electronic mode such as NEFT, RTGS, debit card, credit card, etc. Payment made to bank, LIC, government, payment by book entry, payment made in a village, town where no working facility, payment of retirement to employees, benefit to employees, their family up to 50,000, payment of salary to an employee who is posted to a place other than his normal place of duty for more 15 days or more, payment to producer, cultivator of agriculture, product, forest product, poultry, dairy product, fish product, livestock, etc. No middleman trader. पेमेंट ऑफ हम क्या बोलते हैं पेमेंट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट एंड रेमुनरेशन सैलरी बोनस कमीशन रॉयल्टी टू पार्टनर्स बाय फर्म LLP सेक्शन 40B interest paid to partners on loan capital current if not authorized by deed no deduction 100% is allowed if authorized by deed maximum interest up to 12% per annum is allowed as a deduction. Interest shall relate to period falling after date of deed and not for any earlier period, not a retrospective interest on a loan. If individual is a partner in a firm in a representative capacity, then above limit is not applicable on a interest received in a personal capacity. Such interest is fully allowed as deduction. Firm Ram Sham Mohan HF. Mohan HF is represented by Mr. Mohan Karta. Therefore, Mohan is a partner in representative capacity. Firm has taken loan from this. Interest paid by firm to Mr. Mohan in a personal capacity is fully allowed if individual is a partner in a firm in a personal capacity. Then above limit is not applicable on interest received on behalf of or for benefit of others. Such interest is fully allowed as a deduction. Remuneration, salary, bonus, commission, royalty paid to partner if not authorized by deed, no deduction 100% disallowed. If authorized by deed to paid to non-working partner, no deduction 100% disallowed. Paid to working partner, Lower of limited total payment to all the working partners allow as a deduction includes partner in representative capacity. Remuneration shall relate to period of falling after date of date and not for any earlier period, not a retrospective calculation of limit on the first 6 लाख बुक प्रॉफिट और इन केस ऑफ लॉस। देखो सबसे पहले आपको क्या लेना है 6 लाख ऑफ बुक प्रॉफिट। इन केस ऑफ लॉस वाले में देखो ये पुरानी वाली लिमिट अलग थी। सबसे पहले हमें लेना है 6 लाख और इन केस ऑफ लॉस और ऑन बैलेंस बुक प्रॉफिट। तो देखो सबसे पहले आपको क्या लेना है, फर्स्ट जो आपका 6 लाख ऑफ बुक प्रॉफिट आएगा तो उसमें लेना है उसका फर्स्ट 6 लाख पे तो था, फर्स्ट 6 लाख पे था 90% और 3 लाख इन दोनों में जो भी हायर होता है और बैलेंस पे 60% ऑफ बैलेंस बुक प्रॉफिट। तो कैलकुलेशन कैसे करनी है, जो फर्स्ट 6 लाख आएगा और या फिर लॉस भी आ सकता है तो 3 लाख और 90% और फिर बैलेंस पे 60% ऑफ बुक प्रॉफिट। बुक प्रॉफिट मीन्स PGBP बिफोर रेमुनेरेशन प्रॉफिट एज पर इनकम टैक्स plus remuneration to partner salary bonus commission royalty if debited to P&L minus unabsorbed depreciation if any you will get the book profit। उसके बाद बुक प्रॉफिट आ जाएगा, देन पेमेंट ऑफ सैलरी टू ऑल वर्किंग पार्टनर हायर ऑफ दिस 6 लाख का 90% और 3 लाख और बैलेंस का 60%। डिडक्शन विल बी अदर पॉइंट सेक्शन 40A2 shall not deduct in case of interest and remuneration paid to partner in which it is covered. Rent is not covered under section 40B, so section 40A2 shall deduct in case of rent paid to partner, share income, profit received by partner from firm LLP is exempt under section 10(2)A. Interest and remuneration received by partner from firm LLP is taxable under PGBP up to deduction allowed to firm LLP if stock in trade distributed by firm on dissolution reconstitution to partner, then gain FMV purchase price and transfer of such a stock is taxable under PGBP in the hands of firm। Section 9 we deemed PGBP income। Section 41 remission or cessation of trading liability। Section 41(1) if associate has taken deduction of expenditure or trading liability in earlier years and during current previous year associate has obtained refund of such expenditure, there is remission or cessation of such a liability, then remission refund shall be taxable under PGBP GST sales tax refund creditor doubtless payment to creditor waiver of working capital loan is also taxable under PGBP balancing charge sale of scientific research recovery of bad debt already discussed earlier expenses allowed on actual payment basis following expenses are allowed only if they are paid up to due date of return of income any tax duty sales include interest of tax employer contribution towards SPF RPF approved superannuation fund approved gratuity fund pension scheme ATCCD or any other fund as per law bonus and commission to employees interest on loan to scheduled bank cooperative bank public financial institution state financial corporation state industrial investment corporation and NBFC leave encashment leave salary to employee amount payable to railway for use of railway asset in respect of above if paid up to due date of ROI deduction in current previous year of expense if paid after due date deduction in year of payment amount payable to micro small enterprise amount payable by SSC to micro small enterprise beyond time limit specified in MSMED is allowed as deduction only in a previous year of payment। MSMED act mandate payment of goods and service to supplier micro small up to date as per written agreement which can be maximum 45 days if there is no such a written agreement payment shall be within 15 days if amount is paid within the said period deduction is allowed in a year of accrual if not then deduction is allowed only in a year of payment if it is paid up to due date of ROI। देखो ABC Limited purchase goods of 10,000 from A and company and micro enterprise on 1/3/26 as per written agreement between them payment has to be made। देखो कब हो जाना चाहिए within माइक्रो एंटरप्राइज है तो इफ़ ABC लिमिटेड पेड द सम ऑफ अगर वो 2/4/2026 को पेमेंट कर देता है सिंस पेमेंट इज़ मेड ऑन एंड बिफोर 5/4/26 से पहले हो गया तो डिडक्शन अलाउ हो जाएगी और पेड द सम ऑन 24 45 डेज़ की भी बात किया है क्या पेमेंट कब तक हो जाना चाहिए बियॉन्ड लिमिट है तो डिडक्शन इज अलाउ इन ईयर ऑफ पेमेंट देखो इसमें हमें बोल रखा है अमाउंट पेबल टू माइक्रो स्मॉल बियॉन्ड टाइम लिमिट is allowed deduction only in a payment previous year of payment. MSMED Act mandate payment of goods or service to supply micro small up to date as per agreement, which can be maximum 45. If there is no such payment shall be made within 45 days. Furnishing of bank guarantee up to due date of ROI cannot be treated as actual payment. Bonus is allowed even if amount is initially limited to the trust created for avoiding late payment of bonus. Avoided actual payment to employees made to due date of ROI. If interest converted into loan, borrowing or debenture, then such a conversion cannot be treated as payment. However, when installment of such a converted as interest is paid, deduction allowed interest includes prepayment premium, so it is allowed on a basis. Sale consideration of a land and a building if held as a stock in trade. Section 43 CA सेल कंसिडरेशन विल बी स्टैम्प ड्यूटी और सेल प्राइस हाई है. स्टैम्प ड्यूटी की वैल्यू जो है अप टू 110% ऑफ सेल प्राइस. अगर देखो क्या होता है कि स्टैम्प ड्यूटी की वैल्यू आपकी सेल जो प्राइस है उसका 110% से भी ज़्यादा है तो फिर आपको इस अप टू अगर लेस देन 110 अगर 110% से कम है तो सेल प्राइस हो जाता है. ठीक है. एंड उसके बाद if date of agreement and date of registration is not same, other cases take stamp duty on date of registration. देखो दोनों एग्रीमेंट और डेट ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन सेम नहीं तो आप क्या करो रजिस्ट्रेशन का स्टैम्प ड्यूटी ले लो. इफ़ पार्ट होल कंसिडरेशन इज रिसीव बट अगर जैसे कि एग्रीमेंट वाले दिन कुछ अकाउंट पे चेक से DD ECS या एनी इधर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मोड और ऑन बिफोर डेट ऑफ एग्रीमेंट में आ जाता है कुछ तो टेक SDV ऑन अ डेट ऑफ एग्रीमेंट. इनकम फ्रॉम कंस्ट्रक्शन एंड सर्विस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. Construction asset percentage of completion method. Income recognized on the basis of percentage of completion service contract. Income recognized on the basis of project completion method and percentage of completion method if duration of contract is not more than 90 days. Project completion method. Income recognized when project contract is completed. Income include retention when if duration of contract is more than 90 days. Percentage of completion method. Income recognized on basis of percentage of completion. Special provision for trade, professional and similar association. Section 44. If expenditure of such association exceed subscription income received from member, then deficiency shall be first set off against Pgbp income of association. If no Pgbp income, deficiency can be set off against any other income. Maximum deficiency that can be set off is 50% of total income of association. Compulsory maintenance of books of account. Section 44A. Maintenance of books of account by notified profession. Notified profession: legal, medical, engineering, architect, accounting, technical consultancy, interior decoration, film artist, company secretary, IT professional. Books to be maintained if gross received exceed 1.5 lakh in all three preceding previous year or likely to exceed in current previous year if new business. देखो ग्रॉस रिसिप्ट जो है एक्सीड कर रहा है 1.5 लाख इन ऑल थ्री प्रीसीडिंग्स ईयर, तीनों में होना चाहिए. और लाइकली टू एक्सीड करंट प्रीवियस इफ न्यू बिजनेस तो आपको मेंटेन करना है प्रिस्क्राइब बुक्स, कैश बुक, जर्नल, लेजर, कार्बन कॉपीज ऑफ बिल एक्सीडिंग 25 डेली केस रजिस्टर इन स्टॉक रजिस्टर ओनली इन मेडिकल. अदर केस मेंटेन सच बुक्स विच could enable you to compute total income. Maintenance of books of account by other business and professional individual HF other person required to maintain turnover exceed 25 lakh. Pgbp exceed 2.5 lakh in any one of three preceding previous year. Not required to maintain other cases. Required to maintain not required to maintain other cases. Required to maintain turnover exceed 10 lakh और Pgbp exceed 1.2 lakh in any one of. देखो इन दोनों में ये डिफरेंस होता है. उसमें तो क्या बोलते हैं हम कि इन ऑल, इसमें अगर किसी भी एक में एक्सीड कर गया 10 लाख से ऊपर या Pgbp 1,20,000 से तो, और इसमें 25 लाख और